What is up, folks? We are back, and as you can see, we have a new cast member in. We're going to rotate. We're going to keep you on your toes. Today, of course, I'm joined by Mr. Steve Bland, but Conor Crosby's decided Stonage isn't good enough, and Conor's elbowed him out of the starting lineup. Jokes. Chris is working busy this week, so Conor's very kindly jumped in. And how are we, Mr. Crosby?
I'm good, yeah. I'm 100%, some would say. Yeah, I'm in good form this week.
Unusual for you to say 100%.
Weird, yeah. It's weird that you had to point that out to me, yeah. I'm 99%.
I should probably bring Steve in here to say, I called him the other day and I said, do you know you said like 100% in 6 answers to me on the podcast?
100% is good. Mate, 100% is good though, isn't it? I mean, there's always something going on with people. So to say you're 100%, that's pretty good.
Well, fair point.
He then took great pleasure in pointing out all the things I do wrong. So that's the type of relationship that we have, Steve, me and Conor. You know, we keep each other on our toes. Can't let each other
abusive marriage. Yeah.
Gents,
the abuse goes both ways.
So much to go through from last night's game, but I think the most newsworthy item for us to talk about isn't, unfortunately, the great performance of Giovanni Leoni, Steve. It is the heartbreaking news that came a little bit earlier on today, firstly from Fabrizio Romano, then kind of backed up by a lot of Liverpool-based journalists. It looks like he has an ACL injury, Steve. Now, we don't know the time frame, but it is heartbreaking stuff for the young man.
It's really heartbreaking, and I saw just before I came on, he's put a little a bit out on his socials as well, I think, to say, you know, how heartbroken he is. Thank you to everyone for kind of, you know, all the support, but it's just absolutely devastating for him. He's, you know, he's a young kid coming to a new country, and I know, you know, I do a lot of work in sport with, you know, with a particular rugby team I work for, and I know that when we sign a player from a foreign country and they come in, the last thing they want to be doing is be injured early on, because it's part of the integration into the team, into the squad, into the city. You know, you don't sort of feel like you're part of the whole club until you're really, you know, playing some games. So for him, it's really difficult. And it looks so innocuous, didn't it? It just looked like nothing. Almost looked like he banged his head, and then all of a sudden he's holding his knee, and yeah, just absolutely devastated for him. You know, I guess the that's not a positive, but like the sort of the silver lining. You know, he's so young, and I think in 2 or 3 years' time, you know, he and we will be looking back on this as hopefully a character building experience, you know, transformative experience, because, you know, we'll come on to it as well. The other side of his last night was that he looked like an unbelievable player, didn't he? He just, I mean, the opposition was a bit limited, but he looked like a Rolls Royce of a defender. He looked so big and strong and powerful and quick, and yeah, I was so impressed, and it just makes, you know, what we've heard today just all that more gutting.
Conor, you and I talked off air yesterday and the day before as well about his bravery, not in the performance or anything, but just moving. 18 years of age, saying, I'm leaving Italy, I'm going across to a huge club to learn from Van Dijk, to compete for the starting positions against him, Canade, Joe Gomez. And I've no doubt, mate, that same bravery, that same courage will help him through what is a difficult spell. He will have, of course, all the support of the players and the staff of the AXA, but I think it's also incumbent upon us fans, Conor, to make sure that we're vocal on social media in the right way here, to let him know that he isn't going to be on his own, that we all know what a class act he is as a player, and we look forward to seeing him back in.
Definitely, like you said, the bravery to move away at 18 years of age. Like, I can't imagine myself doing that at that age, to move to a different country. And we've even seen Italian players specifically just don't tend to leave Italy. So it's a huge jump for him to come over here and do this. But like you said, that determination and the mindset he has will definitely help him in this. The fact that he has people around him like Virgil van Dijk, who went through this as well. Like, I think Gomez as well. Like, we've had a lot of long-term injury sufferers in the squad who
even
I'm sure will help him through it. And Wirtz, yeah, he's had it twice. And you see he's come through it well. Like, I think people hear ACL nowadays and think like that's career ender, but I think with modern science or technology, whatever way you want to phrase it, it is not as bad as it used to be. So I'm fully sure he'll come back fully from this. He's not going to be affected for years and years. But yeah, it's so heartbreaking for him. Like, especially his first game after being so good, it's just absolutely gutting.
And Steve, Conor mentioned it there, but there has been a lot of advances in the medical side of the treatment of ACL. And I'm sure from your own working life as well inside rugby with the players there. It will benefit him in his healing. And I think Conor mentioned to me earlier on, I think his mum is actually a physio as well.
It's definitely not, not what it used to be. I can remember going back to the early 90s, mid 90s, and not just ACLs, by the way. Like, John Barnes did his Achilles, didn't he? I remember watching that game and or listening to that game, and all these kind of injuries that they are still really serious injuries, but they were 9-10 months, a minimum. Would they really, would they come back the same player? And it's not the same now. Not just the actual treatment of the injury, but the psychological support around it, I think, is massively different compared to what it was. We're so much more aware of, the sort of trials and tribulations of being a professional sportsman. And I think he'll, like Conor said, he's got some really great people around him at that club. Not just people who've been through difficulties themselves, but just good people who will look after him. So yeah, I have no doubts whatsoever that it'll come back bigger and stronger and better. It's just a heartbreak, and I'm sure he's absolutely gutted by it, and it'll it's not easy. Like we're saying this as fans kind of looking on. It's easy to say, like, you'll come back better for him. It's going to take a bit of time. He'll struggle. He'll have a good month or two where he feels a bit sorry for himself, and that's fine. That's the way it is. But like you guys said, he's obviously got a bit about him. This kid, he's 18 years old. He's come to a new country. He was wanted by every man and his dog. Not just because of his ability with a football, his mindset and his sort of the approach to the game and his character will have gone into it as well. So yeah, fingers crossed we'll see him in the not too distant future. It can be 6-7 months, this kind of thing now. It isn't 9-10 all the time. Depends on what else is going on in the knee and that kind of thing. So
what you're saying, Steve, is there's a chance you'll be fit for the Champions League final.
I mean, where does 7 months come take you to? Like, there's still plenty of the season left if you're 7 months. So
April, May.
Yes, I mean, it probably does add a bit of urgency to getting another centre back in January. I would imagine. I would hope. But yeah, we'll see.
Conor, one thing we did see, and you can sometimes tell with the greats. You watch them for the first time, and you can tell in a few minutes if somebody's going to be legit or if you're unsure. It took me all of 10 minutes, mate, to see him on that pitch last night to say, oh, I get it. I see why we signed him now. I see why there was, as Steve said, every man and his dog looking to bring him in. We only got a small sample size, but for me, he did not look like an 18-year-old kid that was out there or was out of place. He looked assured. He looked calm. He looked composed. I liked his reading of the game. He was good at carrying the ball forward. There was every attribute you would want in an up-and-coming centre-back there, and at 18.
I'm surprised it took you 10 minutes, to be honest. One kick of the ball and I was fully sold. Like, he's just an absolute monster. Was he like 6'6" or something? He has the presence of a Van Dijk already, just that aura around him. Like, it's incredible to see. Like, and I'm actually just so disappointed we're not going to see him for so long. It's just like you get this new thing and you're so excited to see it, and then it's just gone for nearly 6 months or a year or however long it'll be. It's just sickening.
Kind of like me and Steve with our hair.
Exactly. But yeah, he just looks so good, and it's so disappointing, isn't it? Like, just that aura already.
So plenty of good stuff, Steve, to talk about last night. But I want to talk about two performances that underwhelmed me a lot, and they were Joe Gomez and Wataru Endo for very different reasons. So I want to start with Endo because I do think second half he got better. I think he was maybe 10 yards higher up the pitch, but it was his ball possession and distribution that I felt really let him down a bit last night.
So Gomez, I didn't have such an issue with. They didn't really have a massive amount to do at the back, did they? But Endo, I thought he was really, really, really poor. Like, his first touch was bouncing off him, bouncing up in the air. He was getting caught on the ball. It looked like they knew there's a guy sitting in there who's not that comfortable with the ball at his feet, and he's fine making his tackles and stuff, but in an honest slot team, you've got to be the guy that starts it all off as well. You've got to be a lot more than just a tackler and a guy who breaks up the play. And I think he was really found out last night. Particularly, I think, without kind of safety net alongside him. If he's got McAllister alongside him, he can drop it off a little 5-yard pass, and McAllister will get him out of any trouble, or he'll do something great with it. When it's Train Leoni, there isn't that kind of safety net for him in terms of someone experienced who'll bail him out. Yeah, I thought he was awful, to be honest. Like, I wasn't even that impressed second half. I mean, maybe like a very slight improvement. I've always been quite a fan of his. I don't mind a midfielder who just does simple things well. But it looked like it was easy to get to him last night. It looked like they were very quick onto him, and he didn't have the touch or the kind of some players, they already know what they're going to do with it, but before they get it, and it didn't look like he was thinking that far ahead. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't see a great deal much more of him.
Conor, we often speak about competition for places and the business that the club have done this summer, bringing in increasing competition right around every area of the starting 11 pretty much. But I've often mentioned as well that there is a marked difference to the way Endo can play defensive midfield versus Ryan Gravenberch, who is a little bit of a unicorn to some extent in that position. But as Steve said, do you think this is now maybe going to reaffirm in Arna's mind that we need to find that second guy to compete or to fill in for Ryan Gravenberch?
I think so. Like, I think what it comes down to with Endo is the fact that when he comes on in a game, let's say the final few minutes against an Arsenal or a Man City, like, he's there to block the ball, he's there to fly into tackles, etc. Against the likes of Southampton last night, he's asked to create and kind of make things happen, which isn't really a specialty at all. Like, if you compare that to
I'd take him heading the ball in the right direction from a corner, to be honest with you.
Good assists, to be fair. Good assists, in fairness. I said he's not good at attacking, but I think it does come down to that. Like, you need, when we're playing poorer teams, let's say, you need that defensive midfielder like a Gravenberch, like a Zubimendi, let's say, someone who can actually create and not just destroy. Like, Endo is purely just come on and cause chaos in the last 10 minutes and break up play. He's not the man to be creating chances or playing 90 minutes in this team.
So at the other end of the spectrum, Steve, let's talk about the Federico Chiesa redemption arc, which was absolutely glorious.
I thought he was fantastic. I love his energy. Like, if you could bottle his attitude and his character, you'd be a very, 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 very rich man, because there's a lot of footballers with much more ability than he's got who could do with a bit of a dose of what he's got in his head, because he's just got energy to burn. He'll never stop running, and he's not had it easy at Liverpool. He's not had the chances he probably thinks he deserves. Obviously, wasn't in the Champions League squad. He might end up being in the Champions League squad now. Wasn't in there, and that would have been a massive blow to him. But he doesn't care. He just gets on with it. Next chance he gets, works his nuts off. Sets up 2 goals. Looks really dangerous. Right, left, centre. And I think, like, this is just what us as fans are seeing, isn't it? Like, we've kind of all been wanting him to have more chances. Why he hasn't, you'd have to ask the manager. But they said in commentary last night, like, if he gets even to 80% of the player that he was when he was at Juve, when he was tearing it up for them, he's more than an option off the bench, isn't he? Like, he is a viable starter. And I think that was, massive effort. And I think for a manager, when you put a player like him, who's an experienced international, into a League Cup game, some, more established lads would probably, drop off, maybe see it as a bit of a slight. Like, he isn't like that. He is just 110% work rate, and I absolutely love it.
Just to follow on from what Steve said for everybody at home, UEFA made an adjustment to the registration rules on the eve of this season's Champions League, which enables clubs to make one change to their squad during the league phase in response to a long-term injury. Now, that injury has to be deemed to be 60-plus days and also has to be done before match day 6. So it does look like, as Steve mentioned, we will be able to now put Federico Chiesa into that Champions League squad. But Conor, you and I were talking last night about his unselfishness for setting up Ekitike, but we also wanted to highlight that touch from the Andy Robertson pass, the first touch to just kill it. That was exceptional, mate.
Oh, it was absolutely ridiculous. Like the ball itself was good enough, but like to take the ball down like that on the run, one little touch, and then he opens his body up to take a shot and it slots across instead, like fully selled the goalkeeper. It's just completely unselfish, completely just top class play, and he's just unrecognizable from what we've seen. Like I wonder, like we've always said, like does Arne Slot not rate him? Maybe he's just spent the last year in the gym and that was it. Maybe he's just bulked his body up. Now he's actually able to run and actually do things without his body just crumbling. So it'll be interesting to see whether he does get his chance now. Of course, like you said, he's in the Champions League squad or will be soon. So hopefully more game time for him, and he's definitely going to be pushing down the manager's door to try to get into that left wing slot ahead of Gakpo, I think.
And also, Steve, he has that key word, doesn't he? Versatility. Can play anywhere across the front line for a manager.
Particularly when, you have centre forwards who get themselves sent off, stupidly. Like this wouldn't be the first kind of situation, this redemption story that's hinged on a bit of luck like that. That's what happens in football, isn't it? Like, part of, and we'll come on to Ekitike, like part of the issue that he might have. What if at the weekend? What if Isak starts and scores a hat trick, and then he comes off at 60 minutes, and on goes Chiesa and he scores a couple, or there's he's opened the door now to things happening that he can't control, and I think Chiesa is just the kind of guy that will love that opportunity to show what he can do, because you guarantee he's not doing what Ekitike did last night. Like that's the stupidity of youth, and I think I just loved everything about him. I love the knocks he's had and the way that he behaves and his attitude when he comes on. He never seems to grumble. He must be an absolutely perfect professional to have at your club. Someone that you look at as a young player and think that's how I should be.
For me, I've said this many times as well, I've never enjoyed a signing day vlog more than Federico Chiesa. I mean, he is just positivity, good energy, good vibes all the way. And
that's difficult though, when you've not been playing like he has, and you've had the injuries that he has, and you've had the start to his life here that he has, and yet he's still like that. And I think that shows you a lot about a guy.
Absolutely. It really feels like he cares and he wants to be here and he wants to prove himself to Arne. And he's always had the backing of the fans. The fans have always wanted Fede to do well. So, yeah, as we all said, lovely little story. Hopefully this is the redemption arc with Salah going away to the AFCON with, maybe some questions over Cody Gakpo on the left at times. This could be his time to shine. So I want to move on to what Steve mentioned, Conor, the Hugo Ekitike red card, the dilemma for Arne Slot. But firstly, mate, the little Jeremy Frimpong cameo in that situation, I thought was absolutely priceless. He's coming over basically going, mate, what have you done? What have you done?
Yeah, I remember like when that happened, the second he took his shirt off, I was thinking, he's on yellow, isn't he? And then like you see Jadon Dan's over coming over, giving him fucking high fives and everything, and then Frimpong's just like, what are you doing, man? You're on a yellow. It's fucking brilliant. Like it's such a funny moment, and like it's funny because we won. Like imagine he had got sent off and then they score and goes to penalties and we lose. Like this would have been such a bigger deal, and it's just an absolute moment of stupidity. I think even Arne said it was stupid. He actually used the word stupid. It's just, what was he thinking? Like he must have just got caught up in the moment. But it's a very funny moment to look back on. Hopefully, if it doesn't cost us on Saturday, but
well, see, that's the point. That's the point, though, Conor, isn't it? Like, I'm the killjoy here. I didn't find it funny at all. I thought it was just stupid, like plain simple stupidity. To get 2 yellows for that, like for those 2 yellow card offences, it's just irresponsible. And if we get
very Darwin, isn't it? It's very Darwin Nunes.
I mean, would even he have done that? I don't even know if it's even beyond like his.
He
his
was
level
more of a headbutting type of guy.
Well, I just it'll be a tight game at the weekend at Palace. When they're really, really good team, and what you want is a striker to come off the bench and change the game with 20-30 to go, and we haven't got that anymore. I
wanted to actually ask you and your professional opinion as working in PR, Steve. I've noticed very quickly outside Liverpool circles the narrative that they're trying to form around why Hugo Ekitike took off his shirt, held it up to show his name. I've seen Tim Sherwood and a few others, and they're talking about an unhappiness that Isak was bought and a reminder that I'm here as well. I love that, by the way. I don't love the action, but I love the "don't forget about me, I'm here." But I don't like the narrative that they're trying to form over it.
Yeah, you could. It's really difficult to know, isn't it? It's really hard to know. My feeling is that Liverpool knew they're going to sign Isak a long time before they signed Isak. So it would be pretty disingenuous of them not to have told Hugo Ekitike that that was their plan. And I can imagine they would have told him that. But there's enough games, like we've said before, enough games for you both to play together. You play different positions. There's enough going on for you to both get a lot of games. So it would surprise me if he has been surprised or shocked, by the first few games of the season and how they've gone, because he's still in possession of that shirt, or he was until he's done this. That's kind of what I was saying before, that you open yourself up to things that you're not in control of anymore. While he's in that shirt, if he keeps on scoring goals, he will stay in that shirt. He will stay in that position. He's taken himself out of that team now and opened the door up for someone else to say, "I want to be that guy now." And that's the stupidity of it. It's just idiotic for me. And we can talk about the rule and whether you should get a yellow card for that or not, and you probably shouldn't. But the players all know, don't they? It's not like a new thing. I just think it's just daft.
Yeah, no complaints on it, as you said, about the rule. The rule is there. The rule is well known. Whether we agree or disagree with it, it's been there for a while and we know about it. So agree with everything you've said there, Steve. One more little word on last night, Conor, before we finish up. We also got to see the first Georgian ever take to the field for Liverpool Football Club in Giorgi Mamardashvili. And I got to say, I was pleasantly pleased. Yeah, no complaints. There was one time he panned the ball back out into the 18-yard box, which I didn't like. He should have been pushing it wide, but made a good save, one-handed at the top end, and I thought looked composed and controlling of his area.
Yeah, like you said, like maybe one or two little small things, but I was very confident with him in goal, to be honest. Like, you kind of, when a keeper's bad, you do get that little bit of uncertainty and fear around. Like, you almost hear it in the stadium if like people don't trust the goalkeeper, and straight away he just slotted in and everyone was calm about it. And especially with a new backline in front of him as well, like, I thought he was good. Yeah, I'm very happy with it, and I'm hoping we'll see more of him in the Cups this season, and I'm sure he'll be a brilliant goalkeeper for this club in the years to come.
I want to move forward, Steve, to have a little look ahead to Crystal Palace, because as you mentioned, they're on a great run. I think 15, 16 unbeaten, something like that. Obviously, beat us on penalties for the Community Shield. I want to look first to the left wing and have that conversation, Steve. If you're Arne and your options there, let's say, realistically, he's not going to start with Engamoa at the moment. So Gakpo, Chiesa, Wirtz would be maybe the options on the left. What would you be doing for this one if you're Arne? Would you go with a rested Cody Gakpo, an inform hot Federico Chiesa, or let's see if we can find a place for Wirtz to start to shine?
I think there is no way it's not Cody Gakpo on the left. I just think like the guy, he started the season pretty well. He wasn't involved, obviously, last night. Yeah, I mean, the only other option would be, if you thought he might play Wirtz there, because I don't imagine he'll start Chiesa, given that he played 90 last night. Yeah, Wirtz is an interesting one, because you've got to pick a game at some point. Now that you've taken him out for, reasonable reasons, I think, good reasons. You're trying to manage his integration into the team, into the league. You've got to choose a game now to put him back in, haven't you? And I don't know if this is the one. Crystal Palace, they love bodies in the middle. They got three big centre halves, loads of power in midfield. I don't know if this is the one. It's always a really nasty game there, other than the blowout a couple of years ago. It's always a really nasty game, isn't it? And it's one of them that if you come out of it with a scrappy 1-0 coming off someone's backside, then you're quite happy, aren't you? So I'll be, I would probably anticipate something similar to the derby, but obviously, Isak rather than Ekitike, I would say.
For me, Conor, I would somewhat disagree with Steve's assessment that Gakpo started the season well. I would say okay, underwhelming perhaps. He has a great record of chipping in with goals over the course of a season and assists, but I just don't see him being a good enough provider or able to break down, like Steve said there, a very congested area, or to find that moment to get to the byline. At times, it almost seems like when the pitch is so congested and people are central and they're giving us the wide areas, him naturally cutting in onto his right foot is moving into a condensed area again. And that's one of the things that has frustrated a lot of Liverpool fans, is that he does not mix up his attacking angles enough.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing. It works well in some games, but like you said, he does tend to go into traffic more so than actually creating space down the left. But I would agree with Steve in the sense that I think there's no world where Gakpo doesn't start this game on Saturday, because I think Engamos is not going to start. Chiesa has played 90 minutes during the week. He's not going to start. So I think long term, it could be Ekitike on the left, to be fair, if Isak's going to be through the middle. Or like maybe Gakpo comes better, to be fair. Like he there's no doubt in his quality, and he has been good. Like I said, he hasn't been awful or he hasn't been tremendous, but he has been good. So maybe he does just settle in a bit more and just like just a bit more trickery down the left. But like definitely in certain situations, you do need a bit more just flair down the left, and he seems to have.
So if we're going with Cody Gakpo on the left, and gents, Steve, what's your midfield three? Because there's five. If we're being realistic about the options there, you've Gravenberch, McAllister, Jones, Szoboszlai, Wirtz. Two people are going to be disappointed. I think we can safely say none of us are probably pushing Jones in to start in the midfield three. As decent as he has been, by the way, and I do think Curtis Jones has really pushed on under Arna. But who are you putting in midfield, Steve, for this one?
I think the choice is probably between. I think Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are two of the first names on the team sheet this season. They've been so good, and so the choice is probably whether you bring Szoboszlai deeper and you play Wirtz, or whether you push Szoboszlai on and you play McAllister. So that's probably the choice. I honestly don't know what, because I want Wirtz to. I feel like he needs a moment. He needs a moment where he bangs one in the top corner, or he creates something out of nothing for someone. He needs a moment where everyone goes, that's the guy. That's why we paid all the money for him. Because at the moment, I'm not like for 1 second doubting him. I have no doubt that he'll become a really successful part of this Liverpool team, and he'll justify the money in tenfold. Well, not tenfold. That'd be a lot of money, wouldn't it? But you know what I mean. But just at the moment, he just needs that moment, and I don't know if this is the game. But then what is the game? He needs a chance to kind of have that moment. I wonder if this is the one, given how well Szoboszlai's playing at the moment. That's the challenge for him.
For yourself, Connor, if you were on and you were picking a midfield three, I think we'll all agree Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are in there. As Steve said, they've been nothing but brilliant this season, and it would be criminal not to put them in the starting 11, especially after them having had the rest midweek. So one position left in there, Connor, really between Wirtz, Jones, and McAllister. Who would you be putting in?
I think Wirtz comes straight back in, to be honest. I think McAllister is he's not really up to speed. I think we actually, I hate to even say this, but I think we've looked better without him so far this season, to be honest. And I think that is Slot's trusted three there at the minute. So I think it'll go straight back to Wirtz ahead of Szoboszlai and Gravenberch, unless Szoboszlai for some reason is playing right back and then maybe Jones and McAllister come in. But outside of that, I'd be definitely starting Wirtz again, putting him straight back in.
And on that, we just one sec, Steve, just want to really quickly congratulate Alexis and his wife on the birth of baby Alea. Congratulations to them, and lots of players settling in, families starting to be formed, and no late nights anymore, no nightclubbing or anything like that. Happy days for the gaffer. Sorry, Steve.
I was just going to say that we know McAllister's in need of a bit of fitness, don't we? He's come back in late. He had disrupted pre-season. I would have thought that if he wasn't going to play at the weekend, we might have seen him last night. So my logic there is that he probably is going to be starting at the weekend. Logic like doesn't always work, does it? But that's how I'd have seen it. Like if if I plan ahead and I say he's not going to start against Palace, he needs minutes, so I'm going to start him against in the League Cup. So,
could say that for any midfielders, though, couldn't you? Like Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and Wirtz, by that logic.
Not really, because Szoboszlai, I think he's pretty much played like every minute of every game so far. With McAllister's been in and out a little bit, and I think he probably needs minutes. I don't know. I don't know. That's just my reading of it. I imagine McAllister will play.
Great headache, by the way, for the manager to have. Let's just get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, oh no, do I leave out the World Cup winner or a potential future Ballon d'Or winner? Such a difficult decision for Arne to make. I mean,
it's a mad situation, this, isn't it?
It's certainly no Igor Bishan type conversation from the past, lads. Or Real election there.
Oh, Igor Biscan is one of him and Jimmy Traore.
Hey mate, he'll always have that Juventus game for me, Steve. Igor Bishan always have that Juventus game when Alonso was suspended. I'll never forget that.
He was good in that game, but that is about it. He was so bad.
He had one of the best phrases as well, though. Super Crow with Igor Bishan used to be atrocious. That was right up there with some of the best ones.
That team, like, you forget how lucky we are now to have these players, like, because we're not talking. This is 20 years ago, isn't it? Not much more than 20 odd years ago, and we had some. They won the Champions League, so we shouldn't be too.
I mean, I think we're talking the Milan Jovanoviches, the Chuck Norrises, the
Stuart Downing.
Yeah, Andre Voronin.
Stuart Downing. I'll take issue with that. He was
okay. To be fair,
if he's one of our better players, it's not exactly a good sign. Is it?
Stuart Downing is not anywhere near the Milan Jovanovic league.
Yeah, Andre Voronin. I mean, we could go on and Paul Konchesky. Oh, lads, even just saying that out loud,
it's horrible. It's
just
horrible.
So, before we move on to final thoughts, I just wanted to get a score prediction from both of you for the game. I'm not giving mine because I'm holding that off for the preview video. But Conor, your score prediction for this very difficult away game, first 3 p.m. kickoff for us as well of the season on Saturday. Score prediction?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one, but I'll go 2-1 or 3-1. I'll say 2-1. I think it's going to be scrappy enough. We'll go like 2-0 up. They'll get back with 1. We'll be thinking, oh no, 2-0 lead again. And we'll eventually get over the line again. But I think, 2-1 I'm going to go for.
And yourself, Steve?
I was actually going to say 2-1, but I wonder if it might happen a little differently where we get another last minute winner, which would
be unusual for us. We don't score late goals, Steve.
Would just be hilarious, wouldn't it? So start it. Let's go 2-1 and 93rd minute. Federico Chiesa winner. Let's have that.
Oh, Steve, I love that. Imagine. Federico Chiesa winner. And get on board with that one. So, final thoughts. I thought we'd have a chat around a couple of things that I've noticed over the last week. One, I really enjoyed hearing from Richard Hughes about the business of the football club and how they look at making transfers and what they deem as value longer term. But another topic, Conor, that I thought we could have a chat about was there seems to be some complaints, even though we've won every game. And the style of football under Arne is something that keeps coming back up in conversation. Do you think we are a little bit too pedantic at times, moving the ball back and forth across the centre-back line, waiting for that perfect pass or moving it into midfield and then against a low block, trying to, again, keep moving it to find that pass? Should we be more direct on occasion? Should we get it wide and put in crosses? Do you have any concerns about the style of football we play under Arne?
I feel like concerns is a bad word because obviously we're winning football games. We're winning league titles last year. We're probably going to win the league title this year. It's hard to be concerned about a type of football. But from a purely entertainment point of view, obviously, yes, we would like that more, the rock and roll, heavy metal football that Jurgen Klopp had us used to. But I think if we're winning games, ultimately, you can't complain too much. Bit concerning just from an entertainment point of view, but I think it's probably the more measured approach and the more sustainable approach over the course of the season if we're trying to win 3 or 4 trophies. So not concerned, but we probably will have a few boring games more so than in the last couple of years, I think.
See, Steve, this might surprise you about me, but I'm pretty logical about this stuff. I really don't care about performances as long as 3 points keep coming up week after week, mate. I will have these debates with people and post-match shows with a smile on my face as long as we have the result. That's how I look at this stuff.
I'm kind of the same. I was listening to a podcast the other day. It was maybe the Guardian Weekly again. I listened to quite a lot, and like, one of the guests was saying, "Oh, Liverpool will, it's a great sign they're winning games and not really playing as well as they can do. They're not playing badly, I don't think, but they're not playing, at full tilt." And then another guest said, "Well, no, this first guest said, well, at some point they're going to turn it on, they're going to start clicking, it's all going to start working." Another fellow was like, "Well, what if it doesn't? Look at Aston Villa. They've completely fallen off a cliff, like for no particular reason. And yeah, we're winning games, and that's fantastic, but we're not. We're looking quite vulnerable at the back. We're not really clicking going forward. We're not scoring bucket loads of goals. So I just have just a little. I have complete faith in Onslaught. I have no issue with the style of play. I want one really good performance, like just to affirm that that's there, and that we've still got that. And I know that's really difficult in the Premier League. You don't get a lot of games where you dominate, from 1 to 90, and but I just want a complete performance, and I'm sure they do too. I'm sure they're working really hard for it, but I just want a complete performance that'll shut out the outside noise, because we know what everyone else has got to say about all this. Just to prove that we're winning games and it's going to come good.
For me, I thought the best we've looked was first 20-25 against Atletico. Love the tempo, love the press, love the aggression. That felt like what Arna wanted. Where I have a small gripe is something Steve mentioned. So we're trying to be defensively more solid. I think we're trying to protect the football and not give it away in advanced areas or overcommit like we did in previous years, where the fullbacks would bomb on forward. Everybody, bar maybe two of our centre-backs, were camped inside the opposition half, and losing the ball on the edge of the opponent's penalty area has been a huge Achilles heel for us. And I wonder if they've perhaps overthought that a little bit, Steve, and almost gone to try and be too defensive, because it's not working. As you said, we're still conceding the goals. So
yeah,
that's my concern.
It's interesting, wasn't it? Like I last season, and I'm not taking anything away from the work that Onslaught has done. He's come in and he's been incredible, and it's not as easy as taking on someone's team and they'll be just as good. But the kind of caveat to that is, it wasn't his team. The players were already drilled in a certain way of playing. They were properly, they knew what they were doing. They've been doing it for 4 or 5 years. He's brought his own players in now, 4 or 5 different players. And I think, we just need to see, are we better than we were last year? I feel we just need to see that we definitely are. And like I say, I'm not doubting him, because I'm confident that the players we brought in are really good ones, and we will be, better, bigger team. But I just want that performance where it all clicks, where they're flowing and they're good at the back and they're pressing high and they're dominant on the ball and they're looking dangerous. They're not vulnerable every time we get transitioned or counter-attacked on. I just want that performance to kind of, as much as anything, shut out the outside noise, because I'm getting it. I'm sure you guys are. Oh, you're lucky, all these late goals. I don't want that. I want a performance where you go, that's what we can do. Like I've said before, the performances so far this season, Bournemouth was good until it wasn't. Atletico was pretty good. We've had good halves. I want to see it for 90 minutes just to shut people up.
Agreed. And I think it'll come as I'm sure both you gents do as well. So the final thing, just before we finish up, Steve said something the other day that stuck in my head, because it's a really valid point. And it was to do with initially the conversation. It happens every now and again, Steve. Occasionally you do say something and I think, geez, you know what? He has a point. He has a point. He's not just on here for the handsome factor. He has a goddamn point. And I thought about this, and it was basically the sharing around of the load for goals and assists and stuff like that. So in the spirit of that, I thought I'd ask a question that we probably haven't ever had to ask on the channel in recent years is, Conor, who's going to be our top scorer this season in all competitions?
It is a tough one, yeah, because you think £125 million striker or the £80 million striker, but it's probably Salah, if we're being honest. Like, he's the one who will play the most minutes out of them. Isak is coming late, obviously. He got 1 goal, but he's already 4 behind Ekitike. But I don't think Ekitike is going to play quite enough to catch up with whatever Salah ends up on, because, like, Salah's been scoring goals already and he's been playing poor. So when he hits form, he's straight away going to be up to the 20-30 goal mark again. It's a very, very good problem to have, obviously, like, to think who's going to be the top man. But I would back Salah probably, unless Isak bags a few hat-tricks. Outside of that, I'm backing Salah.
So before I come to Steve, I'm going to give you my one. With Salah's slow-ish start with the AFCON, I'm going to say Isak is going to find a way to be the top goal scorer. I don't think there's going to be much in it. I don't think there'll be more than maybe 5 or 6 between the first and second in our team. But with that, with the firepower we have in behind him as well to set some up for him, I'm going to say we're going to see Alexander Isak. And I think if we could take penalties out of this conversation, I would definitely be feeling confident about Isak. But for me, Steve, I'm going to go with our new £125 million signing.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because if you said look at last year, say, 5 forwards really shared the goals out, and Salah, 30 odd. The other ones probably between 10 and 15 each, right? So that's, whatever that is, that's 70, 80 goals, something like that. This season, if you imagine they're being spread between probably 4, but 3 of them primarily. So I reckon you could end up with a situation where you got 4 lads on near enough 20 goals, or 3 on 25 and then 1 on 10 or 15. It'll be really, really, really tight. And I think it'll come down to minutes. Like you say, I was going to say Salah, and then you mentioned AFCON, which I think will be a factor.
I kind of forgot AFCON, to be honest.
He takes all the penalties, which is the thing. If you switch the penalties to Isak, I'd be definitely saying Isak. Look, if they both score 25 goals, I don't think we'll be too far off winning everything. So let's say they'll be joint top on 25 each.
So Steve's a pussy. That's what we've learned here.
Let's just say Joe Gomez.
Love you, mate. I'm only joking. That's it for us this week, ladies and gents. Time has beaten us, but we want to know, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments who you think will be Liverpool's top scorer in all competitions this season. A huge thank you to Steve and Conor for jumping on. We'll have Chris returning for the next episode as well. And of course, as always, a thank you to you guys and girls for listening. We'll see you guys soon. Enjoy your week. Bye-bye.